Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to CLS Live, a live stream series presented by the publishers of Contact Lens Spectrum. I'm once again your host, Ashley Tucker, and as always, it is my pleasure and privilege to be a part of this program. Over the last few months, we've shifted gears from talking about what's going on in the contact lens industry to a very different but very important topic, and that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. The plan for this series was to break down each part of DEI. Last month, Dr. Glenda Alamine and myself had a very enlightening discussion about equity. She shared her unique journey into optometry from humble beginnings in Honduras to a successful business owner in Miami, Florida. She also shared her personal mantra about myopia management, that no child should be left behind. This was perfectly in line with my intended message that all patients, no matter what, should have equal access to healthcare, especially eye and vision related services. So this week, I'm really excited to move on to the third part of DEI, and that's inclusion. The aim of healthcare inclusion is to give staff and patients a voice to help provide and receive high quality care and encourage the presence of a diverse healthcare staff in the treatment experience of all patients. But perhaps in order to adopt this into real life practice a bit easier, we must first introduce and impress the importance of inclusion onto our students. So I cannot think of a better person to discuss this topic with me than Dr. Lucy Kahinde. Dr. Kahinde earned a PhD in vision sciences and her OD degree from the University of Alabama at Birmingham School of Optometry. Following the professional program, she completed a primary care residency with an emphasis on cornea and contact lens at Indiana University School of Optometry. After working in private and corporate practice settings, she joined the faculty at UHCO, University of Houston College of Optometry, as an assistant clinical professor. Dr. Kahinde is involved in research studies focusing on ocular surface and dry eye disease, teaches in lecture and laboratory courses, and serves as a clinical attending in several clinics at UHCO. Dr. Kahinde has held leadership roles in various areas for initiatives involving clinical faculty and student affairs, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and interprofessional education with efforts reaching beyond UHCO through ASCO, special interest groups, and the Diversity and Cultural Competency Committee. Welcome, Dr. Kahinde. So let's jump right in. Why do you feel talking about inclusion in healthcare is such an important topic?
Well, I think we're all in this space and we know each other because we're involved in healthcare, and our goal is to serve, and it's not to serve one particular population, it's to serve whoever comes through our door. So if we're going to do it effectively, not just do it kind of in our touch and go type of way, we have to consider inclusion. We have to consider if a person feels like they can really openly communicate with us and authentically say if they can really buy into what we're trying to do with them and be a partner in their own healthcare. So it's important in many ways, and for our staff, for ourselves, and certainly for best patient outcomes.
Totally agree. One thing that really inspired me to invite you to this podcast, and you were like when I got tasked with doing this or asked to do this, you're the person that popped in my mind. And it's because of something special that you're doing at my alma mater, UHCO, and it's the Time to Talk session. So I really want you to share with our audience a little bit about what Time to Talk is, what inspired you to do it, and just how it's been going at UHCO.
Yeah, it's been going great, and it's been going on for a few years now. We're really proud of it. It's something I think is pretty unique. It started in 2020 in June, and we all know what 2020 summertime was. It was like COVID, we're isolated, it's scary. And on top of that, we have this social unrest with the murder of George Floyd and others. And that was a catalyst for many organizations, schools, businesses, mom and pop, Fortune 500, all of us to kind of reevaluate our policies and practices, our branding, know where we can increase our diversity and our representation and hiring, and sort of reassess how to improve equity in operations, how to better serve broader populations that may not even have crossed our minds, among many other things. And it was around that time that I noticed that communication, which was at an all-time high with online, virtual meetings, emails, phone calls, were panicking in the program, this optometry program that requires social interaction. We now cannot be in the same building. So it had all but ceased when things hit a fever pitch. I wasn't getting emails, I wasn't getting phone calls, and it was because of kind of the awkwardness of the situation.
Right.
Dr. Tucker, have you known someone whose family member passed away and you just didn't know what to say to them?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And so when I did start hearing from people, because maybe there was a deadline we needed to meet and we're working together, a lot of what I heard was, I just didn't know what to say to you. I feel so strange. I feel so awkward. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to offend you. I don't know how you're feeling. And so a lot of students were expressing the same thing to me, the ones who are kind of underrepresented in the program. And so I just figured, I think it's time for all of us to talk. Let's just break the tension. So that was our first one, June 2020. And since then, we've covered so many topics, and it's really just an opportunity to share experiences, insights, celebrate cultures, raise awareness about a topic that might affect only a small portion of our population, but they're still important. And so we want to know how we can be allies for those people, whoever they may be, however they represent, whether it's religion, race, culture, anything that might otherwise make them feel othered, because we are spending the majority of our waking hours together in this building in kind of high stress, high stakes situations. Not feeling included in all of that just raises anxiety for people in sort of an unnecessary way. So that's what it's all about.
I love that. So I want to share some of the topics that you've covered. So you tackled the hijab, inclusive healthcare for people with intellectual disabilities. I love this one. Invisible stories of Asian Americans. So those are really tricky topics to navigate. And you guys, I want everyone listening to know she has done such a fantastic job. So can you maybe share about those or any other sessions that you found the most effective or the most impactful?
Sure. I mean, we're in Texas, and we've got legislation and things being proposed that make people a little bit afraid and uncomfortable. And one of our topics, for example, was LGBTQ and you, we called it. And I think the point of it all is to take away the fear of even talking about it. It is okay to disagree about something. It is okay to have your faith kind of direct how you feel about something, but it shouldn't take away an opportunity to learn more about it and to educate yourself and to realize that people still need support and they still need to feel respected. But the one that sticks out to me the most is probably the very first one, because it set the tone for everything else. And it was an opportunity for the teachers to become the student. We have a generation gap between a lot of our faculty and the students who were like born in 2020, for example. And so it's important that we have a conversation where someone can bring their lived experience to help someone learn more about the world. And in that conversation, we had, tenured professors and full professors asking questions from a real space of, I really just don't know. And these first years who were in their early 20s saying, well, here's how that feels, or here's what that looks like, or here's an example. And since then, in all of our topics, sometimes we talk about creating friendships in a group that you don't belong to, or we've talked about this is why to help people explain why I'm vegan, or why I wear this on my head, why is this little dot on my forehead, and things like that. So it's been really phenomenal, and I can't wait to do more.
I remember that very first one. I was there and I was amazed at the vulnerability in both the faculty and the staff, and the way that my colleagues express themselves in such a vulnerable situation. Like faculty that taught me, I'm like, I cannot believe, this conversation is happening, and that the students, like you said, they became the teachers. Like that was a beautiful, humbling moment from the faculty perspective, just to see how that was received and how you navigated those conversations. I mean, it's fantastic. So this is an ongoing series. So how frequently do you have these time to talk sessions?
It's kind of when it hits us. It's
Yeah.
not very regimented, it's not prescriptive, and I think that's important because every organization is different. Every optometry school is different. We have geographic and cultural differences. And so my goal is to just keep my feet on the ground, ears to the ground, and feel what the pulse is and understand what's an important topic for us. And so if a student brings something or staff brings something to the table, or there's a topic when we had to come back from COVID restrictions and be in person, we struggled with student engagement. First, we didn't want them to come for safety, and now we want them to come to class, and they're so used to being at home and watching lectures from their bed. And so, how do we get them to return and be face to face and fully engaged? And so, we struggled a little bit, and we had a conversation about student perspectives and faculty perspectives, and it was a chance for us to learn what our challenges are and how we navigate them.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it's important for us to know that when we deal with social issues, we just have to be flexible. And it may not be time to do something. And so we can just live our lives. But then when the moment arrives, we know that it's time for us to really listen, which is a big part of communication,
Right.
and then openly talk respectfully about whatever is important to us.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Gande. So our time is coming to an end already, but before I let you go, do
Yeah.
you have any recommendations, just in general, for what practitioners and maybe even other educators can do to promote a more inclusive environment in their everyday life or in their practices?
Yeah, I think generally we can kind of do a self-assessment about what our hangups, what our implicit biases are, and understand how that we can circumvent them, and certainly set the stage and be an example for how to create a space where people not only are there, they're not just represented and tolerated, but they're truly valued. They are heard, they feel welcome, they feel respected and even celebrated because of their differences, not despite their differences. So, looking at our ads, our marketing, how we communicate with each other, the type of uh, behavior we tolerate, the language we tolerate about different groups, our accessibility standards, all of those things, just do a good, thorough audit, self evaluation, and evaluation of our space.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Gande, thank you for your advice, your insights on this topic. We appreciate it. I appreciate our audience. I'm sure appreciates it. So please join me next month, everyone, when we continue the conversation. So at that time, we'll be focusing on the newest addition to DEI, and that's belonging. As a reminder, you can catch previous episodes of CLS Live on the Contact Lens Spectrum page on Facebook or on clspectrum.com, as well as transcripts of the show now in the printed version of Spectrum each month. Thanks again, and see you all next month for the next episode of CLS Live. Thank you.